Hi, I'm Caitlin, and this is Book Chats. Today's Top 5 Wednesday is Top 5 Books I Had to Read. So these are books that I was required to read during my K-12 education, and actually, I think probably more accurately, most of these I had to read in high school, if not all. Book number 5 is The Great Gatsby. We had to read this for my 11th grade English class, and I don't like the story of The Great Gatsby, and I don't like any of the characters, but the writing is so beautiful and just makes me believe so much in the potential of the English language to be so beautiful that I love this book, even though I really shouldn't. Plus, it helps that F. Scott Fitzgerald is from Minnesota, so he's basically my homeboy. Book number 4 is one that I had to read for 9th grade government. It's Animal Farm by George Orwell. So this book is awesome. It is just a great allegorical tale that is like symbolic of different government types, of course, which is why we read it in government class. It basically rocks, and I really enjoyed it. All books are equal, but some books are clearly more equal than others. Book number 3 is one that I didn't realize that I loved because I didn't realize I had kind of already been introduced to it. It's actually a play, and it's the first play by this playwright that I actually read and then was like, oh, I understand all the hype now. It is Hamlet by William Shakespeare. So as a kid, my favorite Disney movie was The Lion King. It's still probably my favorite Disney movie, although I haven't reevaluated in a couple years. I didn't realize until I was almost an adult and I read Hamlet my senior year of high school that The Lion King is essentially just Hamlet with animals. I love the story of Hamlet. I think it's fascinating. I actually have gone on to read it in many different forms. I've read retellings. I've seen, of course, movies that are kind of direct adaptations. I had to watch the 2001 adaptation of Hamlet that is brought into the modern world in one of my film classes, and I thought it was interesting, the ways and things that they've done with it. I have read some pretty blah adaptations and enjoyed them pretty much only because I love Hamlet. I've read the Choose Your Own Adventure Hamlet. The Choose Your Own Path Hamlet that Ryan North, creator of Dinosaur Comics, wrote. I just really love Hamlet. Book number 2 is something a little more modern and something that I read for my history class. So this is a book that I read and I did not understand it at all, and I was like, that was weird. And then we got to the period of history that it covered in my class. It was a European history class, and all of a sudden I was like, oh my gosh, that book was awesome. And it is Darkness at Noon by Alfred Kessler, is that right? And this book is basically set during some of the purges, the Soviet purges, and is really fascinating. I think it's set just during like a 24 or 48 hour period, and just from a very tight narrator, and you don't get any backstory that he doesn't give you during the story, and you don't get anything after. It's just this very tight narrative period, and I thought it was fascinating once I had the proper historical background, and I was really impressed. And then book number 1, I think, is the most recently published of all of these, and it is one I've actually talked about before on this channel, but it was so significant to me, and I would not have read it if I hadn't read it in school, and that is The Things They Carried by Tim O'Brien. Question, did you guys have to read this book in school? Because I kind of think we had to read it partially because Tim O'Brien is from Minnesota, and no Minnesota school can pass up the chance to, have something written by a Minnesota writer. Like, we all read The Hatchet in elementary school, too. It's a very critically acclaimed book, so we weren't reading it just because it was Minnesotan. I remember hearing people say that it seems like really authentic portrayal of the experiences of veterans of the Vietnam War, even though it is fictional, and it's very weird. It's a book, I think why it's number 1 on this list is it's a very weird book. And I didn't understand when we read it in school, really, the way that it would impact me, but it has stuck with me. Like, very few other books I read in school have, and I, to this day, remember it and think of it and recommend it to other people, because it's just one of those books that, like, it sits below, and then, like, the longer you think about it, the more significance it has, and the more you kind of get it. It's a very odd but very good book, and I definitely think you should consider reading it if you haven't. So those are my 5 favorite books that I read in school. I definitely have a couple honorable mentions, one of them being a civil action I had to read in my law class, which I was required to take to graduate from high school, but apparently that's not normal. My school district was weird. I don't know. Not because the book is particularly great, but because it completely changed my view of the justice system in America, and specifically of the civil court system. Anyway, so that one's definitely an honorable mention, and then there's some other books that I read for school that of course I enjoyed. But I would love to hear what you guys read in school and enjoyed, or what you were supposed to read in school and didn't, and later picked up and enjoyed. Either of those things I would really love. What was something that you were surprised by how much you loved it after you read it in school? Let me know below, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye!